Hey, Riverwood, Mr. Young here, back with one more staff-specific Safe Minute to finish off the 2021-2022 school year. Just want to say thank you. Been a great year in a lot of regards, but certainly appreciate your efforts relative to the safety and security of staff, students, and the building. It really does take all of us, and your investment and efforts in that area has not gone unnoticed, and it's greatly appreciated by lots of folks. So thank you for that. To finish off the school year before we get to the beach, we've got a district-sponsored safety minute. They really asked us to talk to staff about how to respond to student head injuries and potential concussions. So that's what we're going to spend our last safety minute on before we sail off into the sunset and put a bow on this school year. So let's get to it. Okay, so the first step is really just understanding that a head injury can be anything from something that's very severe and obvious to something that's a little bit more subtle, like a minor bump on the head, but understanding that even those small bumps on the head can cause really significant brain injury or have the potential to cause significant brain injury. And then another thing I think worth pointing out on this slide is that a really significant blow to the body or really hard fall can jolt the head so much that the brain basically shakes inside of the skull or moves rapidly back and forth, especially if it makes contact with the skull, causing a concussion or brain injury. So we need to be aware of those situations as well. Okay, so if you observe a student who experiences a bump or a blow to the head, a really significant jolt to their body, or falls from a height greater than 3 feet, really important that you look for any of these signs right here. And that if you see any of these, we don't want you to try and move the student, but rather you need to call Nurse Larson at 4805. She can engage the emergency response team and wait for them to come to you. So make sure you're familiar with this list. Some of them are pretty obvious and intuitive, but a couple of others you may need to check for. But again, if they meet these qualifications right here, don't move the student. Wait for Nurse Larson to come to you. Okay, so if you observe a student have a bump to the head but doesn't meet any of those criterion in the last page, or the last slide rather, you are now okay to walk them down to the clinic. You can send them with another adult or responsible student. I think we would probably prefer, if we can afford it, to send them with adult. Understand that that might not always be possible. So if you send them with a student, just make sure you call ahead to 4805 and let Nurse Larson know. Once the student gets to the clinic, all of these steps before you're going to take place, Nurse Larson will perform assessment, notify parents, and give them some recommendations for what to do next. Okay, so if after Nurse Larson performs her assessment on the student, the mom, dad, and students decide that the student is going to remain at school, these are the steps that will be in place. Nurse Larson will manage most of these. It's important for you to know that the student will have free access to the nurse throughout the course of the day, and that there will be a couple of scheduled times for the student to go see Nurse Larson and just do a quick check-in. Student has anything going on after school, Nurse Larson will reach out to that sponsor or coach and let them know about the head injury as well. All right, last thing, a student has a head injury or a concussion, and then they now have returned back to us, back to school. Really just what you need to know is that there's going to be a plan in place, and you can read through these bullets, but really I think as a classroom teacher or staff member, what you would just want to be aware for are changes in condition and changes in behavior, and know that they are under a protocol, and that Nurse Larson would need to be notified immediately upon any kind of changes in condition. All right, that's it. Last safety minute of the year. Thank you again for all of your efforts. Hope you had a great year. Have a great summer. Stay safe. Thanks.